Hey, what's up? Dave with Brazos Valley Strength, and I have wrapped up all of my training heading into Raw Nationals next weekend in Las Vegas. Most of what I have to say will be at the end of this video, so really the recap on the training week as a whole and expectations for the competition, and really just all the numbers that I'm looking to hit. You can find all that at the end of this video. So for the most part, I'm just gonna let the footage play. I'll set things up just a little bit because the first half of the week, the front half, the first 3 days are significantly lighter. And then the last 3 days, day 4, 5, and 6 are really my primary days, the days that I go a whole lot heavier. And really just to set the stage here, I've been training very, very well. And at the end of last week, I hit some pretty good numbers on all my primary days, but just was feeling, kind of beat up as a whole. Just general fatigue that we would kind of expect at this point, emotionally, physically heading into a competition block. And so I held back a little bit more, not a ton, maybe an RPE here or there at the front half of the week, just to set things up for the back half to have a little bit better training. And so I wanted to comment on that as a whole, because I think a lot of times in competition blocks, people are really looking to have really good performances on pretty much every single day. And I don't know that that's necessary. I think that we definitely want to bias towards the, our primary days, our heaviest lifts, and use all the other days to set up, better performance on those days. And I think that this really is a comment on how people should be training and how people should be trying to view their own training and think about the things that make them feel their best as much as possible. Because I had a really, really good idea of how much I could get away with doing through these first 3 sessions and even, feeling not great. A good idea of how hard I could train and still feel very ready for the end of the week, because I do want to be training, right? I shouldn't just be letting this stuff be super easy. I'm still trying to make progress, but I think that people don't do enough to learn about their rhythms outside of competition blocks. And so then they get into a competition block, and because they haven't put in enough mental effort other places in their previous training, that people get a little bit lost about how they should expect to feel. Because there's a number of days here that I pretty much always feel bad in training. That like my day 3 bench press is almost never a good day. And so if that's something that I was just expecting to always feel on with, it might end up being a little bit more of a panic. So really the whole message here at the front end is that this should highlight to people how important it is to be managing your training and to be thoughtful and insightful with your training year round. Or when you get into a competition block, you're really just not going to be able to manage those highs and lows appropriately. And on another note, I actually significantly changed. I guess it was really my day 1 was the main change that I had. If you look at the program, the block 4 nationals, it looks a lot different than the day that we just saw here. As I was doing in the way that the program was written, I intended to do a lot more heavy stuff, and it really just was bothering me, especially as my squats were getting heavier. I was getting a little bit more beat up, kind of how I normally do. And that was just another place that, because I've had a lot of experience with that issue specifically and just experience in general on how to manage these blocks, I was able to make this change about halfway through the block and end up with a lot more productivity. So that's the main that's my main educational message for this video is that me having success here was really just a product of every other block, and not just running through the training, but really looking at why the training was going well and when I should be pushing hard and what days I should let coast, if I'm letting any days coast, and really just that training process as a whole. So anyway, ended up really creating some really good stuff in the back half of this week. Some big numbers, should be expecting some really big stuff in competition, but I'll save all of those thoughts for the end of the video. Okay, so I'm all done. I'm gonna do a little bit of a wrap up here of the last 3 days. My last, bigger sessions, my primary sessions for squat, bench, and deadlift. I'm putting my attempt sheet, my actual plan for the competition in the description down below. So if you want to watch me compete, I compete when I'm publishing this. It'll be next Sunday. I think it's the 12th at 4 p.m. Sunday at 4 p.m. Vegas time. So I'll share that information on my story on Instagram, but I'll have the actual attempt plan that I'm going to be using for my competition. So if you want to watch and kind of see the attempt selection and kind of how I'm planning it and everything, and I don't think that there's really any surprises. I'll go day by day and just talk briefly about how everything went kind of compared to expectations and what I'm really expecting for the competition. So the day 3, 4, I guess now how the program is written, my deadlifts were really good, relative to what I normally do heading into competitions. I basically have always felt like I just never pull as well as I can in training. And so I use correlation. I look at similar training heading into competitions and plan my attempts from there. And I mean, by all accounts, this block and even the blocks heading into it have been my best deadlift training ever. So this actually genuinely was the first time I've ever deadlifted over 800 in training without straps. I've hit it a number of times in competitions now, and it's been relatively easy, but in training, I haven't gotten there ever. So I hit it twice this week. I mean, both were kind of sloppy, but have never done it. And I think even heading into my last competition, I only hit 360 one time heading into that one, and then the one previously, I think I missed 360 at least twice. So 365 for 3 singles here, one of them with straps, we'll call it twice. So I'm significantly better deadlifting right now than I have been heading into competition. So no pain. My knees are healthy, feeling really, really good. So I'm really gonna try to go for it this time, and hopefully I'll be set up in a position to where my second attempt deadlift for sure has me over 900 kilos as far as my total. But if I squat over 330 and bench press over 200, my second attempt deadlift should have me at a 2,000 pound total. So I can send it a little bit, but if you look at the attempt sheet, the heaviest deadlift I have on the plan is 390. And I think I can do it. We'll see if I actually call it, because my biggest goal here is a really big total, as big as I can. So I guess on that note, my situation is a little bit unique in that I kind of I'm not fighting for placing really. Ashton Ruska is in my weight class, and he's 50 kilos in front of me, and then I'm about 40 kilos in front of the next best person. So Ashton and I are kind of just out there on our own, and then everybody else. So there's not a lot of pressure for me. I mean, there's pressure, as there always is, just with wanting to have a really good competition and finally break that 2,000 pound barrier, show up in all the ways I can. But as far as placing, there's not a lot that can be done there. Anyway, so bench press was maybe the most tumultuous during this block, and I've been benching so well this year. And over the last maybe 3 months, I've been developing a little bit of elbow pain. I'd call it like tricep tendonitis or something, doesn't really matter. But it was getting a little bit annoying, but it was persistent all through my last block, and I ended up benching 210 in that block. And I just thought I was going to be able to, live with it. And then I started this block, and it was impacting me significantly. And if you followed me for any amount of time, I kind of have like recurring kind of pec strains. And I think a combination of my elbow maybe messing with my rhythm a little bit, and just not benching as well as I could have. I kind of started off this block looking like, oh boy, here comes the pec stuff again. But what took it pretty conservatively, got myself healthier. So now these last 2 weeks of training in particular, 2 to 3, been feeling a whole lot better than I started. The elbow is a non-issue. My pecs are good. They're fine. Benched 200, which is 5 kilos over my best competition bench. It's 10 kilos over what I benched at my last meet. The heaviest I'll probably go for at the competition is 205. But anything 200 or above, I'll definitely be content with to kind of break that barrier finally. But genuinely, I think 205 is probably in the cards there if I'm feeling any better than I did this week. And then squat, just finished, haven't even unracked it yet. I set all this up, haven't taken it down, alternating with glute ham raise right now. So squatting was really solid this block. Really never had any bad days really. My knees were able to handle all the intensity and the belt squat volume and everything that I did. Hit 330 today, felt like a 9 RPE. So my meet PR is 325 kilos. I've squatted 330 once before, but my objective here would be 330 or 335 potentially. But 330 would still be awesome in setting me up for that 2,000 pound total. So this week I think probably already talked about it, was just manipulating some of the intensity early in the week, but still training and being able to set up a good back end of this week. And it went really, really well. So that's essentially the plan for next week. So if you're, I don't think the free program that I have has updated taper stuff. I actually just wrote it like a few days ago for myself, but that's essentially the plan for this coming week. And I think it's a mistake that sometimes people make heading into meets, is that they think they need to do too little. But as we saw right here, my last week of training was not super strong. Squat, bench, and deadlift were kind of feeling a little fatigued. So, just the front half of this week, I just kind of held back just a little bit and ended up with some really good stuff. And so essentially that's the plan for this coming week, is not to pull back so much that I, lose my fitness level. I feel good. I'm tired. My back is a little fatigued. I'm skipping my snatch grip RDLs and doing glute ham raise instead to, manage things appropriately right there. But, I'll continue doing some training similar to what I did on the front half of this week, and then, kind of miss a session or two in the back end and should be good to go. So that's pretty much it. Looking for some really big numbers. I should be looking for 5 to 10 kilo PRs on everything, and hopefully more on the deadlift. 10 to 15 or so is kind of what I'm going for there, and clearly wanting to break into the 2,000 pound total. Top end would be 920, 925 is what I'm really looking to total. So I'm excited about it. I feel really, really good, really confident. Obviously, wrapping up a block like this is blessing, to really have no hiccups and to not end with something that, feels like it rattled me at all. So feeling excellent. So if you've kept up with my training for all this time coming in, I appreciate all the support from everybody that's been watching these things. I'm appreciating everybody's kind words heading into the competition, and hopefully I can put up a really big number. So if you are around Vegas or whatever, say hello to me when I'm around. But otherwise, we'll be seeing you after the competition with a recap of the meet, and then new free program, kind of some off-season kind of stuff, building into the corrupted strength meet near the end of the year, and then back into more educational stuff. So lots of good stuff to come on the channel. Hopefully I have a really good competition here. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do that. Hopefully I'll be putting out some good content. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and we'll see you after the meet.